Luxor is not just a city, it's an open-air museum. But choosing where to stay here can completely change your experience. East Bank or West Bank? Luxury or local? Quiet nights or temple lights? These choices matter more in Luxor than almost anywhere else. In this video, I'll show you how to make those choices the right way. We'll go through where to stay in Luxor based on your travel style and budget, how to get around the city, what daily life and shopping are really like, and a simple breakdown of the main costs you should plan for. I'll also share which side I personally chose and why. So whether you want to wake up next to the Nile or stay close to ancient tombs, this video will help you plan your time in Luxor without surprises. And before we get into it, if you enjoy detailed, honest travel guides like this, don't forget to like the video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Subscribing is the best way to support my work and helps me keep making more videos like this. Now, let's explore Luxor the smart way. To understand where to stay in Luxor, you first need to understand the city itself, because Luxor isn't really one place. It's two very different worlds, divided by the Nile. The East Bank is the side of temples, city life, hotels, and activity. The West Bank is the side of tombs, villages, silence, and wide open space. Choosing between these two isn't just about location. It affects how you move, how you spend your evenings, and how close you feel to ancient Egypt. And in Luxor, this choice matters more than almost anywhere else in the country. So let's look at each side, starting with the East Bank. If this is your first time in Luxor, the East Bank is usually the easiest and most convenient place to stay. This side is home to Karnak Temple, Luxor Temple, the Luxor Museum, and the Mummification Museum. It's also where you'll find most restaurants, cafes, banks, tour offices, and everyday services. Everything feels close together, and evenings are lively and well lit, making it easy to walk around after sunset. But this part is important to understand. Almost all of Luxor's major archaeological sites are not on the East Bank. The East Bank is really about comfort and convenience. It offers the widest range of accommodation in the city, from luxury properties with historic character and Nile front views to comfortable mid-range hotels and simple budget guest houses near the Corniche. No matter your budget, it's easy to find something that fits your travel style here. Staying on the East Bank means easy evenings, lots of food options, and very little planning once the day winds down. The trade-off is movement. Anytime you want to visit places like the Valley of the Kings, Hatshepsut's Temple, or the major tombs and temples, you'll need to cross the Nile, by public ferry, private boat, or taxi. Now here's something many people don't realize. There's only one bridge, and it's far north of the city. That means taxis going from the East Bank to the West Bank and back have to drive all the way up to the bridge and then all the way back down again. Those extra kilometers add up, and so does the fare. It's not difficult at all, but if you're planning a budget trip, relying on taxis every time you cross the river is something you'll want to keep in mind. Now, let's cross the river. The moment you step across the Nile, something changes. Mornings are calm, evenings are golden, and nights are incredibly quiet. This is where almost everything ancient lives. Here you'll find the Valley of the Kings, Hatshepsut's Temple, the Colossi of Memnon, and countless temples, valleys, and tombs spread across desert and farmland. And if you dream of floating silently above Luxor at sunrise, this is also where hot air balloon flights take off. Life on the West Bank feels rural, local, and deeply authentic. You'll see farms, animals, children riding bicycles, small shops, and family-run restaurants. Life here follows the sun, not the clock. There are fewer restaurants than on the East Bank, but the ones you find feel personal. There are fewer hotels as well, but you can still find beautiful luxury stays, often hidden behind gardens and walls. Accommodation on this side is mostly small-scale and locally run. Think boutique lodges, family guest houses, and eco-style stays with gardens rather than large hotels. Many places offer home-cooked meals, bicycles for short trips, and help arranging tours or transportation, which is useful since services are more spread out. One thing to keep in mind is that the West Bank is less about convenience and more about experience. You'll rely on ferries or boats to cross the Nile. Nightlife is very limited, and evenings are quiet. If you're comfortable with that trade-off, the West Bank can feel incredibly rewarding. So when you look at it overall, the West Bank is a better fit if your goal is to explore Luxor's archaeological sites in depth while experiencing a more local, traditional side of Egypt. With most major sites right here, you spend less time commuting and more time on site. That slower pace especially suits travelers staying longer, photographers, writers, and anyone searching for a deeper connection to the place. Once you've chosen which side of the Nile to stay on, the next thing that really shapes your experience in Luxor is how you move around. So here's a quick reality check. Uber does not work in Luxor. There is an app called inDrive, but in practice it isn't always reliable. Most of the time you'll be using local taxis, and that's completely normal here. The key thing to remember is to agree on the price before you get in. A simple approach works best. Ask the driver for the price first, suggest a fair amount if needed, and confirm it clearly. Doing this up front avoids misunderstandings and keeps the ride relaxed. You'll also notice tuk-tuk vehicles everywhere in Luxor. Many young locals use them as an informal way to earn money, and a lot of residents rely on them for short trips. They're fast and cheap, but they're also very basic. If you're concerned about safety or comfort, it's perfectly fine to skip them and stick with regular taxis or hotel-arranged transport. All of this applies on both sides of the Nile. Whether you're staying on the East Bank or the West Bank, planning transportation just a little in advance can save you time and energy each day. And once you start moving around the city, something else becomes very clear. As you get around Luxor, daily life quickly becomes part of your routine, and that includes shopping for everyday things. No matter which side of the Nile you're on, buying what you need is surprisingly easy. Getting from place to place might involve taxis, boats, or some walking, but once you're in a neighborhood, everything feels close. Small local stores are everywhere, tucked into alleys, lining side streets, and sitting right next to homes. You'll easily find water, bread, fruits, vegetables, meat, and basic groceries without having to plan ahead. On the West Bank, even though the area feels rural and quiet, daily shopping is very local and very accessible. There are small supermarkets, neighborhood bakeries, fruit and vegetable stands, and butchers spread throughout the villages. Often you're buying directly from local families, and shopping becomes part of the rhythm of the day rather than a separate task. On the East Bank, you'll find the same kind of local shops, along with more variety and slightly larger options. If you're looking for something specific or more international, there are chain supermarkets like Khair al-Zaman, which carry a wider range of packaged and imported items. It's a convenient stop if you need familiar products or particular groceries. Overall, Luxor isn't a place where you need to stock up or plan shopping in advance. Whether you're crossing the Nile or staying close to your accommodation, daily necessities are always nearby and easy to find. And that simplicity is part of what makes living here feel so natural. Once you start moving around Luxor, shopping locally, and eating out, the next natural question is cost. So let's talk honestly about the budget. Luxor is one of the best value destinations you'll find, especially considering how much history and experience you get here. Prices do change depending on the season. Peak tourist months are more expensive, quieter periods are cheaper. But overall, Luxor remains very affordable. When it comes to accommodation, you have a wide range of options. Along with hotels and guest houses, Airbnb is very common, especially on the West Bank, where apartments and guest houses often offer more space and a more local feel. Budget stays, whether guest houses or Airbnbs, often start around $10 to $20 per night. Mid-range hotels and well-equipped apartments usually fall between $30 and $100, while luxury Nile front stays can range from about $150 to $300 per night. The good news is that you don't need to overspend to stay somewhere special in Luxor. For transportation, I'll share my own observations. For most short routes on either side of the Nile, taxi fares are usually around 50 to 60 Egyptian pounds. This includes trips like the Ferry station to Karnak Temple to Luxor Temple, the West Bank Ferry station to the Colossi of Memnon, or from the Colossi of Memnon to the Valley of the Queens. For longer routes, prices are usually about double. For example, a taxi from the Colossi of Memnon to the Valley of the Kings typically costs around 120 Egyptian pounds, and a ride from the Go Bus station on the East Bank to the Colossi of Memnon on the West Bank is also around 120 Egyptian pounds. Tuk-tuk rides are usually cheaper, often around half the price of taxis. But comfort and safety are more basic, so that choice depends on what you're comfortable with. Keep in mind that taxi prices in Luxor aren't fixed. The final price depends on negotiation, distance, time of day, and demand, so agreeing on the fare before getting in is always important. The public ferry is the cheapest way to cross the Nile. For foreigners, it costs about 20 Egyptian pounds for a single crossing, or 40 Egyptian pounds for 2 crossings. Now, let's talk about food, because this is where Luxor really shines. You can eat extremely cheaply here if you want. In very local eateries or street-style places, a simple meal can cost as little as 50 to 150 Egyptian pounds. Casual local restaurants, with seating, usually fall in the 150 to 300 pound range and offer great value. Most travelers tend to eat in good mid-range restaurants, where a full meal typically costs between 300 and 600 Egyptian pounds. These places are comfortable, clean, and often located near temples or along the Nile. At the higher end, hotel restaurants and upscale dining usually range from 600 to 1,200 Egyptian pounds per person, and in the most luxurious settings, prices can go higher. That said, even Luxor's most expensive meals are still reasonable compared to many major tourist cities. For daily shopping, essentials are very affordable. In many small local stores, prices aren't tagged, but basics are cheap. A 1.5-liter bottle of water was around 10 Egyptian pounds, and a small piece of local bread about 2 Egyptian pounds. In larger supermarkets like Khair al-Zaman, prices are clearly labeled, which can be helpful if you prefer fixed pricing or are buying specific items. And lastly, when it comes to entrance fees, museums, temples, and archaeological sites, prices can really add up. I've covered all of that in detail in a separate video about the Cairo and Luxor Pass. I'll link it here and in the description if you want the full breakdown. Just a quick note. These prices reflect what I personally experienced in 2025, and they may vary over time. Use them as a rough guide to help with planning. Once you get a feel for the costs, the daily rhythm, and life on both sides of the Nile, the choice becomes a personal one. There's no right or wrong answer, just the option that feels right for you. So here's my honest experience. Which side did I choose? Even though it was my first time in Egypt, I decided to stay on the West Bank. I wanted to wake up surrounded by history instead of traffic, with most of the archaeological sites right nearby. But more than that, I wanted to experience a different pace of life: farms, small villages, quiet mornings, and desert sunrises. For me, that slower rhythm and closer connection to the ancient landscape mattered more than convenience. It meant quieter evenings and fewer restaurant choices, but it also meant less daily travel and more time immersed in the places I came to see. That trade-off was completely worth it for me, but I know it won't be the right choice for everyone, and that's exactly why understanding both sides of Luxor is so important. And that's really the heart of Luxor. There isn't one right way to experience it. What matters is choosing the side and the rhythm that fits you best. At the end of the day, staying in Luxor is about balance. The East Bank offers ease, services, and lively evenings. Perfect if it's your first visit or if you prefer comfort and convenience. The West Bank offers silence, space, and immersion, ideal if you want to slow down and live closer to the ancient landscape. Neither choice is better than the other. They're just different experiences, shaped by what you value most: comfort or calm, nightlife or nature, convenience or closeness to history. In Luxor, your journey doesn't really begin at a temple or a tomb. It begins with where you choose to stay, and how you choose to live each day here. And this is just one part of the journey. If you want to go deeper, walking through temples, valleys, and stories step by step, I've shared several full guided videos from Egypt, all collected in the Egypt playlist on my channel. I've also made a detailed video about the Luxor Pass, where I explain how it works, who it's worth it for, and how it can save you time and money when visiting multiple sites. If Egypt is on your itinerary, that video can be really helpful. And if there's anything about Luxor I didn't cover in this video, feel free to leave a comment below. I read them all and I'll do my best to answer your questions or help clarify anything. If this guide helped you plan your stay in Luxor, you can support the channel by liking the video, sharing it with someone planning a trip, and subscribing for more detailed travel guides. Your support really helps the channel grow. Thanks for watching, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next adventure.